Right. In case you can't tell, I'm sick. I'm sick. So I went to the clinic here in Japan. I woke up the other day and I got into the shower and the coughs coming out of my lungs felt like knives stabbing into each one of my lungs, and it was freaking terrible. I decided I needed to go into work late, or maybe even take the day off, and go into the doctor. So that's what I did. I went to the clinic, which is right down the road. I know if you're American, you know that going to the doctor because you're sick, it's not something to get excited about whatsoever. And I don't get excited about it here either, but I figured I'd tell you guys a little bit about it. As I'm sure you can see, I'm wearing one of these masks. Now, there's a few reasons for that, but I'm gonna go over that a little bit later, so stick around to the end if you're actually interested in finding out what these things are for. If it's your first time here, my name's Andy. At Tokini Andy, I create and stream Japanese lessons, as well as sharing what it's like to actually live in Japan. So if that's something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing. I went to the clinic and I got there and I was coughing up a lung because, I had to go up a little bit of a hill on my bicycle to get there. So I get there and I'm coughing my brains out and the doctor calls me out and he listens to my chest and my back for like half a second, barely half a second on each side. And he's just like, wow, that sounds terrible. Do you mind if I give you tenteki? So this is all in Japanese, of course. So he goes, tenteki shite mo ii? Tenteki shite mo ii desu ka? And I'm like, sure. I was like, whatever, yeah. Just do whatever it takes, this sucks. I got to go to the bathroom before I got to do whatever tenteki was. So I looked it up on my phone really quick. What's tenteki? And of course, it turns out that that was an IV line. So I was getting IV injected medicine. Yay! I wish I had known that before he told me, but whatever. So I go in there and it hurt pretty bad. So I laid there for like 30 minutes, still feeling terrible. And it didn't really make me feel any better. Apparently it was for making inflammation go down, so inflammation in my lungs. And the doctor basically told me that if I hadn't come, like if I had waited much longer, I might have had to actually go to a bigger hospital to be treated for pneumonia. But I didn't quite get to pneumonia. It was like bronchitis or something. And I lay there for 30 minutes and I got out and he's like, all right, so I'm gonna give you this medicine. He's like, do you have a cold? And I'm like, yeah, I can barely breathe out of my nose. He's like, all right, so I'm gonna give you this, 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 and this. And I looked at the chart, like the list of the things he gave me, and it was so much medicine. Just take a look at this. Like seriously, who needs all this medicine? So I looked at this list of medicine, I'm like, oh my god, do I really need 8 things? But I felt so terrible that I figured I'd just take them. The cool thing about medicine in Japan is you get these lists, right? So there's just a list, every medicine that you've been given, when you're supposed to take it, and what it's supposed to do. So just quickly, the very first one, I'm not gonna go over the name of each one. You take this one 3 times a day. It's Chinese medicine, basically. I think it's Chinese cough medicine. So like, holistic Chinese medicines. They prescribe that stuff here. It's interesting. All right, next one is, I only take this one before bed because it makes you sleepy. I think it's just a painkiller. Yeah, it's like, it brings down, I think it brings down inflammation. So once again in my lungs, I guess. Then there's this one, which just kills germs. Then this one is for inflammation, maybe? Inflammation? I don't know. And then this one's for my stomach because I'm taking so many medicines that, I need to protect my stomach from all of it. This one's for the cough. This is the most important one, for the cough. And then there's this one, I think this one is for Horayak Itami. It's a painkiller. Painkiller. And I think one of these somewhere is for like stuffy nose and stuff. So it works pretty good. The other night I had taken, all 7 that I had to take at night. And most of the times this hasn't happened so far, but I felt like I was drunk. Like it was way too much. There's not many medicines here in Japan that are really that strong, but combining just all of this, it makes you feel a little loopy. Finally, there's this thing, which is basically you smoke it. Basically, you pull this little thing down and then you just put it in your mouth and then you're supposed to hold it in for 4 seconds. And then blow it out and then gargle whatever's left in your mouth. There's 30 days of this stuff. So I've got 30 days of Chinese medicine and 30 days of this thing that I have to smoke, basically. So that's fun. 8 medicines. The big question today is, how much do you think all of this costs? Like seriously, coming from America, if you're watching from America, I don't know. If you're watching from Japan, you probably already have a decent idea of how much all this costs. But anyone living in America, like, I got an IV line, doctor visit, 8 types of medicine. Now I do have insurance, but it covers 70% of all the costs. So how much do you think I paid? If you're not sure what all of this costs, why don't you take a guess and put it down in the comments, and I'll tell you a little later in the video how much it actually all cost me. The visit, the IV, 8 types of medicine, the doctor's visit itself, all of that combined, how much it cost. So, before I get to that, I just want to talk about this mask a little bit, right? So I used to think these things were just for like people who are terrified of germs. So if they were going overseas or if they were in public, I thought they were wearing them to avoid germs themselves. But turns out I was wrong. The truth is that the actual people who wear these things are people who are sick, like me. And the reason for that is, well, there's a few reasons. There's 2 reasons that I wear it. The first reason is that when you're coughing and sneezing and all of that, like, sure, you should cover your mouth, right? Ideally, but then the stuff gets in your hands and everything you touch and all of that. So Japanese people, well, I guess in Asia, came up with the ingenious idea of why don't you just wear a mask so that when you cough and sneeze, it gets caught in here and not on your hand, and then you can just throw out the mask later and nobody can get sick from that. So I think that's actually a pretty good idea. Another reason I wear these things, especially when I have a cough, is that, or when I have like a stuffy nose, is that it's, I can't breathe in through my nose. So I have to breathe in through my mouth. And when you breathe in through your mouth, you know that that's like really bad for your vocal cords, and like your mouth dries out and it's just terrible. Like when you breathe in through your nose, you've got the filters in there that sort of clean things out before it gets in there, so you don't lose your voice quite as easily and things like that. So I wear this because it acts sort of like a filter when I'm breathing in through my mouth. So I especially wear this when I'm sleeping, because I'm probably breathing in through my mouth when I'm sleeping if my nose is this stuffy. So that it's a filter. And it actually works pretty good. Also, when you're working here and you're sick, you are actually kind of expected to wear these. In the beginning, when I first started working here, I didn't get sick too often, but the longer I've been here, the more I seem to get sick. And especially working in a kindergarten around tons of kids, it just happens. Especially working in a kindergarten because I'm surrounded by 380 kids all day, including teachers. I'm supposed to wear this if I'm sick. Lovely. So anyway, that brings us to how much all of this was. Now, if I were to get this IV and the doctor's visit and all of this medicine in America, I imagine this would have costed somewhere in the thousands, maybe even more. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comments. But I think this would have been really expensive, even if you had insurance. Now, I have insurance that covers 70% of all of my costs for medicine and for doctor's visits. For the doctor's visit and the IV, I was expecting it to be quite expensive. I was expecting at least, wait for it, at least $50. That's not very expensive if you're in America, right? But that's about what I was expecting. It ended up being 2,800 yen, which is about $25. It was $25 for me to go to the doctor's, get my prescriptions, and get an IV line to bring down the swelling in my lungs. $25. That's amazing. Is that not like the best thing ever? So then all of this medicine, 8 types of medicine, 30 days worth of, granted it's, Chinese medicine, but whatever. 30 days of this thing that I have to smoke, which really helps actually bring down the cough, and then all of this other stuff to get rid of my cold. In America, I feel like that would have been really, really expensive. I can't even imagine. Let me know down in the comments what you think it would cost. But for me, it was 4,900 yen, which was about $45 or $46. So in total, this whole visit, all of this medicine, an IV line, doctor visit, cost me about $75 USD. $75. And that's really expensive. Usually when you go to the doctor, you don't get this much medicine. It was a pretty bad cold, so I had to get a lot, and it was just $75. It's not so bad, is it? Especially for you Americans out there. Finally, one thing I want to mention is that not everything about the medical system and the healthcare system in Japan it's not all roses. The fact is that a lot of doctors are super overworked. They just throw medicine at you. Like, they don't even really fully check to see what's wrong with you. They just immediately throw medicine at whatever your symptoms are, and that's very common. In fact, once I went to this doctor up near my school this one time, and it was an older woman doctor. She wasn't that old. She was probably like 40s, 50s maybe, and her eyes were closed the entire time she was checking me. She never opened her eyes. She was just like checking my pulse, and her eyes were closed. She was clearly exhausted. Why was she at work at a clinic like that? They were closed, seriously. I was shocked. I never went back there again. I felt really bad for her, but I'm not going to a doctor whose eyes are closed while they're checking my pulse and my heart and like my symptoms. I think she was looking or pretending to look into my mouth. I had the flu. I had the flu that time. But yeah, so it's not all great. People generally, doctors generally just throw medicine at you. But sometimes if it gets worse, they will give you recommendations to go to better doctors who, you know, will check things more carefully. And the best thing is, it's really affordable. That's one reason that I find it so hard to want to go back and live in America, because when I get sick here, I don't have to worry. If I got sick in America, I'd be like, oh my god, there goes my life savings. But anyway, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you disliked it, well, I mean, there's a thumbs down right there. You can hit that too. If you'd like to learn more about Japan, or if you'd like to learn Japanese, please consider subscribing. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you when I'm feeling better. Have a great day. Bye!